Good evening and welcome to our Hangout on Air. My name is Michelle Stinson Ross, and I am joined tonight by author J. Alexander Greenwood. Alex, why don't you take a moment to say hello, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get into this discussion of all things John Pilate Mysteries.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I wanted to start by thanking you very much for helping put all this together. Actually, not helping, but doing basically 99% of this. Thank you so much. I should just tell everybody that Michelle's an author in her own right. If you like a good pirate adventure, Revenge of the Siren Song is available on Amazon, and we're eagerly awaiting a sequel, my dear. But thank you so much for the time you've put into this. Michelle's truly been one of my, I hate to use the word fan because it sounds arrogant or something like I have fans, but she's been one of my biggest supporters, and I really appreciate you, Michelle. And I also appreciate all of you folks who are listening tonight and checking in, and maybe we'll send some questions my way. I have a small but loyal fan base. I guess actually I don't. John Pilate does, and although Simon would argue that he does, I guess, but that's neither here nor there. But again, I'm Alex Greenwood. I am a PR and social media professional by day, and I am a by night and by weekend. And way back in 2008 or so, I started working on writing a mystery story that I thought would be a one-off, and it became more than a one-off. It became a two-off, and then a three-off, and I told everybody after three that that was the end of it, and I've made a liar of myself yet again. So there's not a lot more to say about me. You can always read that on my author page or whatever, but I am excited, and I really want to hear your questions, and Michelle has some questions set aside, and I'm just really by this and looking forward to releasing a new book, a new adventure in the John Pilate Mystery series. I guess cat's out of the bag what it's called. It's Pilate's Blood. There will be blood.
Well, let me take a moment to do a little quick housekeeping so that folks know how to interact with us if they wish. If you are
Yep.
watching this on Google Plus via our event link on either the John Pilate Mysteries page or the John Pilate's Mysteries Book Club page, there are several different links to this event. If you are in our event, you will see that there is an option to leave comments. That is how you are going to be able to interact with us as we talk. If you have questions about any of the John Pilate mysteries, whether it's Pilate's Cross, Pilate's Key, Pilate's Ghost, or the upcoming Pilate's Blood, can you get me? I just got that all in one breath. But if you would like to leave a comment for us, you can either leave it in the commentary stream on the Google Plus event, or if you would like to use Twitter, we are using the hashtag PilatesBlood. If you want to tweet at us that way, I am watch what you guys have to say. So if you want to leave a comment, ask Alex a question, those are the places to do it.
Michelle, if I get interrupt, I've got my phone in front of me. I'm getting a few texts from people saying I'm on, but I can't find you. Is there? I know this is with Google Plus. We run into this. Is there some quick, easy way to? Again, you probably just said it, but should I just copy the URL and message this to people? Is that the easiest way from?
Actually, guys, go look. He has it posted as an event on Facebook as well as in Google Plus. There are several links to it. Like I said, if you'll just search G Plus for the John Pilate Mysteries, you will find either the book club or you will find the actual John Pilate Mysteries page. Just scroll through. You'll find a link to the event. What you're looking to click on is Pilate's Blood Hangout with J. Alexander Greenwood. That is the title of the Hangout. If you'll click on the Hangout title, it'll take you right to it.
So search Google Plus one more time for
Pilate's Blood Hangout with J.
Pilate's
Alexander
Blood.
Greenwood.
Okay. Thanks everybody for your patience who's already here. We want to make sure everybody gets on board. It's not every day I get all these wonderful people here all at once. I'm getting all kinds of messages from people on Facebook saying, I can't find you, I can't find you. So I'm going
Well,
to
we did when we first set up the event. There was a link to the Hangout there in the Facebook event. Facebook and Google Plus don't always play nice together, but there are links over on Facebook as well that will get you here.
Okay. Yeah, so one more question. I mean, one more time. Can I copy where we are right now and send that URL to people?
That URL that you're looking at is our private URL. It will send people to the on-camera version. So
Okay.
you need to go grab the link for the G Plus event.
And I think I have that. And that's the one that's got the washing your hands of murder is an easy logo on it and
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's the one.
All right. I'm sorry for everybody. Thanks for your patience. This is somewhat new technology.
Quite all
Um,
right. While Alex is doing that, I will also let you guys know we are running the Showcase app in the full screen version of the G Plus Hangout. If you would like to find Alex's author profile on Amazon.com, the direct link to the pre-order for Pilot's Blood is also there. A direct link to the homepage of pilotscross.com, which is the homepage website for everything John Pilate Mysteries. You'll be able to find all of Alex's social media profiles, as well as all kinds of information about the books, more about him as an author. Just a great place to start learning more and connecting, because one of the things that is really kind of cool about Alex and the process that he's been through as a writer is that he is very accessible to the people that are reading his work. By all means, tweet at him, send him Facebook messages. He loves all that stuff.
and I am posting this now one more time. I think this should do it. I've got several good friends here who are saying I can't find. We always run into this, Michelle. We can prepare and prepare, but it's always going to be this situation. But I think we're about ready. I've got a friend who said he just found it. I've got another friend who's looking, and we're gonna need to get moving because everybody else has stuff to do. I know, but
But all
I'm
right,
asking.
we are here for you guys, so we're going to make sure that everybody has a chance to participate and be a part of this discussion. I will say, Alex and I, in the behind the scenes, have kind of been bandying back and forth the idea that maybe in a couple of weeks we might do a readers hangout where we have several of you guys to come talk about how, what you love about the John Pilate Mystery series, that kind of thing. I want to bring the book club idea into this hangout, so we're still trying to work out the logistics of that one, but keep your eyes peeled. That might be coming to a G Plus account near you.
I think one thing to tell everybody, Michelle, some people are saying I can see but I can't join, but that's okay. If you can see and hear us, that's what you're doing.
Yes,
And if they
you
want to
guys
submit
are
a
just
question, what
watching.
do they need to do?
You can watch along. If you want to submit a question, submit it in the Say Something box right below the video that you're watching in G+.
Okay, just one more moment, folks. If you be patient, we've got just another. Uh, Help! I can't find it. I'm getting a lot of these. It's nice though that all these people want to. Um, uh, Boy, now no, can't see you. Just the screen where you're supposed to be. What does that mean?
Push the play button.
Push play button. Okay, push play button. Let's see what happens there. Um, so I'm going to put that link and say push play button. Okay, we're going to see what we got here. All right. All I get is a page, no video. I don't like Google Plus. Push play button.
There will be a triangular play icon floating in the middle of the video screen. You do have to connect and say, yes, I do want to watch this live.
So push the triangular play icon. Okay. I know there's people who are already on going, I did this, why couldn't you? Oh, now they're saying tried that. I don't know what to tell people. They say they've tried that and it's not working, and
All I can say is maybe refresh the screen.
it just brings up the invite page. It says, Michelle, can you copy a link and give it to me, and I'll copy it to everybody? Is there a link you can message me real quick?
That is the proper link. That is the one that they
Which
need.
one?
The Hangout event link. That is where they can watch.
Okay, hang on a second here. I'm getting more messages. No play button. Just brings up the input. Okay, Michelle, I'm messaging you real fast, and then we're going to get on with this. Is this right? What I just messaged you on Google Message or on Facebook Message? Can you see that?
Let me open a Facebook window. Hold on.
I've got some people who I know got on because they're telling me they got on.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. All right.
Tell
okay.
the ones that maybe are getting a little bit nervous about this. This is recording live to YouTube, and there will be a way to watch it afterwards, so that nobody's going to miss anything. You can watch it over and over. OD on Alex if you want to. This is not just a live event. It will be available on YouTube when we're finished.
Okay, because we need to get on. All right, I'm just putting this in and saying we will record this. Here's the link. We will record if you cannot get on. Thank you. I feel terrible if you can't get on. I'm sorry. But yeah, we need to get moving here. So I'm going to get back to you, Michelle, and here I am again. Okay, and hello again to everyone who's here and can get on. And I apologize if you're watching the recording now. Quit cussing me. We did a You there?
Yes.
What are we doing now? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Quite all right. I'm ready to jump into the actual discussion of
let's go.
The John Pilate Mysteries.
Rock and roll.
Part of what I wanted to discuss with Alex, I know a lot of interviewers have asked you what inspired you to write this, where did it all come from, all that kind of stuff. And we actually have shared an interview that I did with Alex about a year or two ago that kind of covers the basics of where the John Pilate Mysteries originally came from.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to talk to Alex tonight about is this cavalcade of characters that he's created over the span of now 4 books. And I wanted to start off the discussion with our lead character, John Pilate himself, because for those of you that have read the previous books, you know that when we first meet John Pilate in Pilate's Cross, John has had throat surgery due to a cancer scare. He is recently divorced. He's been laid off. He thinks his life is just pretty much totally in the toilet.
Yeah.
And now he's having to move on and accept a job in the world's smallest town.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought it was pretty rough then. But as events transpire, he realizes that that wasn't so bad after all. Because by the time we get to the John Pilate that we're going to read in Pilate's Blood, John has escaped death a couple of times. He's been shot at a couple of times. The guy's got wounds in his face, in his arm. Near-death experiences aren't quite the same as, a divorce. So what I'm wanting to hear from Alex, first of all, is can you kind of take us through this evolution of John Pilate and kind of what was going on in your mind as to how John would grow over the course of this series?
Well, first of all, there wasn't going to be a series. First of all, this all stemmed, and we won't go into all the origin story because there are other great interviews with you, Michelle, and others about this. But I was initially by some real life events that inspired this story. And, any author who tells you they've not injected themselves into at least one of the characters in their book, in my opinion, is either lying to you or themselves. And John Pilate, for all intents and purposes, is probably has some facets of me in there. And I think once I realized after Pilate's Cross, which was going to be done, and then I remember this very, very well, that I had a conference with some colleagues. Besides you, Michelle, you were with me from the beginning. Eden Bailey, the writer, was with me. Jason McIntyre, the writer, was also with me in a lot of ways early on. But I remember that I was at a conference with some PR folks. I'm a public relations guy by day, and they were just raving about it and excited about it, and they were reading it. And when are you going to do another one? And I was like, well, I'm not doing another book. But then I thought, yeah, I am. And I am imaginative, I think, by nature, but not that imaginative. So there are certain aspects of my life and my psyche that either through intent or just through the subconscious reverse osmosis of writing came out on the page. So it's not a stretch for me to admit sounds like I did something wrong, but for me to disclose that I was in a bad place. I had a bad few years in my life. We all do. I had a year when I lost my grandfather. I lost a dear friend. I lost a job. I lost an election. I lost all my money. I lost my identity. And I couldn't stay where I was anymore. And there's a scene in Pilate's Cross, and you know what I'm talking about, Michelle. You're alluding to this, where Pilate is about a week away from being evicted from his apartment, and he gets a phone call from some gruff old guy in Cross Township, in some place up Iowa or North Dakota, close enough, whatever.
Close enough.
Close enough, yes. One of the end jokes of the series. And it's a lifeline that's thrown to him by the universe or God or whomever or whatever you want. And that happened to me. And I packed up everything I had and I went north. And so did John Pilate. And just by the act of making that determination about where my life was going, and by turning my back on things that were bad in my life, John did the same thing, and it opened himself up to new adventures and new experiences and new people. And so John Pilate is growing, if not exactly the way I have, in the way I either the way I hope to, or in the way that if I had done, I would think was interesting. Is that too convoluted?
No, not convoluted at all. It makes me think, has John at this point, through the course of 3 stories and moving into a 4th, has he kind of figured himself out, or is he still searching? I mean, we really get the sense in Pilate's Cross that since he is starting over, he's having to figure himself out again. I mean, between how to manage depression issues, this crazy doppelganger that he has to deal with. Yeah, when we first meet him, he really does need to figure a lot of shit. My question for you is he starting to get a grip on who he is and what is really important in his life at this point?
At what point? At Pilate's blood or at Pilate's key?
At the beginning of Pilate's blood. By the time we've gone through Pilate's key and Pilate's ghost, I'm giving you guys the benefit of the doubt that you have read these books. If not, I'm hoping that I'm raising enough questions like, ooh, okay, this does actually sound interesting. I need to go read these.
They're only 99 cents on Kindle at Amazon.com. I mean, really, I can't just give them away. No, I think by Pilate, And remember, this Pilate, John Pilate is not me. John Pilate is a fictional character, so do not read everything I say about John Pilate as being an analog to Alex Greenwood. That would be a mistake. John has accepted where he is, but not who he is.
Okay. Fair enough.
He does. He's accepted where circumstance and where his decisions have put him, but I don't think he's at all comfortable with who he is. Are you?
Gotcha.
Are you the question? And I say that rhetorically, but are you?
Right. Right.
Yeah. And
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why, as a lead character, as a hero, if I can use that word for John Pilate, he is so identifiable. I mean, we as readers, we kind of connect with that I don't know what the hell I'm doing aspect of John's life. That, he's just trying to deal with what's been served up to him.
Michelle, that is so true. And you know what? One criticism I received from a very faithful reader about Pilate's Ghost, the third book in the series, was that he felt, and I'm not arguing with him, this is a faithful reader who I trust, he felt that John Pilate had veered off into action hero territory a little too far. That John was losing touch a little. It was a very small version of, like the Die Hard movies, where John McClane in the first Die Hard movie is an everyman we can all identify with, and by the third or fourth movie he's like a superhero.
Right.
And that's a dangerous trap to get in, and that is not where I want John Pilate to go, because he's a regular person. And I'm not saying it's that bad, but the signs were there, and this very good reader let me know in no uncertain terms, in a polite way, that Pilate's getting a little too far one way. You ought to think about maybe making sure to go back to Die Hard, takes off his shoes and makes sure that his feet touch the ground a little bit more. And let me just say that about Pilate's Blood, that John Pilate is very much brought back down to earth. Yeah. Well, we all are, one way or another.
Well, and I think that really is part of what readers can appreciate about John, is that he is grounded, that he's as normal as the rest of us, in that he's got his problems, and kind of gives us hope that should we find ourselves in extraordinary circumstances, that we would be able to figure our way back out of them, that nothing in the extraordinary is impossible for us any more than it's impossible for John.
Yeah. I'd like to think that if I were thrown into these situations, that I would be half as resourceful as John. And you know what, half the time his resourcefulness that I'm crowing about is just blind luck and tripping and falling the wrong way so he doesn't get shot. And I really believe, if you read about true heroes in real life, so many of them are just like, had I gone left instead of right, I'd be dead and I wouldn't be a hero at all. And I think that's more true. And I think, but by the same token, people don't read books, I think, to experience exact reality, but I believe in verisimilitude. I believe that if it doesn't ring true, if it is like John McClane and he's just this superhero, and when I reread what I've written, whenever I have a draft of and if so, is this likely, or is it at least plausible? Beyond possible, is it plausible? And that's important to me.
The reason why John found the hero in himself, Kate. There's been a lot of debate about Kate and who she is, her influence, her personal character arc, which I think is very, very different from John's. We really, in my mind, and I've reread all three of these books just recently in preparing for the launch of Pilate's Blood and getting a book club started and some other things. I've reread all of these books.
Yeah.
And I think that for for the readers who maybe don't like Kate that well, I think she really hasn't had a good chance to be fully herself yet. She's always kind of had to be, number one, reactionary to John,
Yeah.
reactionary to the circumstances around her. There's a lot going on in her life that we really haven't seen the real Kate, or at least not in my mind yet. I haven't seen enough of Kate to really get a sense of who she is, and I think that may be what readers are reacting to as well. And they're going, I just don't really like her. She's a bit of a thinner, less developed character than John is.
You know, do you watch The Walking Dead?
I don't know.
Well, a lot of our listeners or watchers and readers may, and there's the character of the sheriff's wife got the same thing. People just loved her, hated her. Most hated her. Kate has unfortunately, she's a thankless character in that regard, is because she's not the hero, and I've had some readers tell me, mostly women by the way, that they like John when he's kind of this proper rogue, this shabby, faded but noble hero, and they don't like the idea of him settling down, and they think Kate's a little domineering. But Kate is a woman who has suffered great loss in her life. I mean, she's a widow. She's had to raise a kid on her own. She's had to make her own way. She's had to deal with all of these issues. So it's a little unfair to her, I think, to malign her. But then again, even I sometimes, when I write Kate, I think, geez, is she just a scold, or is she just, is she just this anchor around John's neck? And let's just put it this way: her story has not been completely written yet. It's not finished yet.
I agree. I can say this about Kate so far. For those of you that maybe aren't quite familiar with the 3 books previous to Pilate's Blood, really we've only covered about a year or a little bit more in John and Kate's life. And so these snapshots, particularly of Kate, because we're kind of joined at the hip to John in these stories, because it is John's story that we're following along.
Right.
And so sometimes that distance that John has from Kate, particularly in Pilate's Key, the 2nd book, is the same distance that we're feeling from Kate. We aren't connected any more to Kate than John is. And so to understand what's going on with Kate and really understand where her motivation is, why she does what she does, why she says what she says, we're kind of looking in a glass obliquely. We're not really in a position where we can see Kate fully. And at least this is just my interpretation and what I've seen of the character so far. I mean, she's almost missing from Pilate's Key.
She is. On purpose, and unfortunately that served to tease people who don't like her even further, because they're like, look, there's no Kate, so John is free to have some dalliances and adventures without being fettered by Mom, and that's what some people have said. It's like, what, gosh, Kate's like his mom, and it's like, oh geez, is that fair? You got to remember, in Pilate's Cross, she was the gal in the Levi's with the lottery ticket and in front of the store, and he was smitten, and he still is. But the problem with John is that he's ultimately a little bit selfish too, and I think John is dealing with his own duality, and there's 3 people in John's relationship with Kate, and one of them's John, one of them's Kate, and one of them's Simon.
Mm-hmm.
Simon, if you don't know, by the way, is John's doppelganger. He's
the
revealed.
Voice in John's head.
He's what?
He's the voice in John's head.
He's just, yeah, and if we all have them. Some people actually hear a voice in their head. Some people just think a voice in their head. But John has a running commentary with a real smart aleck guy named Simon, who he used to really be able to see, and now he can just kind of hear and sense more than anything else as the series has progressed.
Is that an indicator of John's personal growth that Simon continues to move further and further into the background?
Well, it's, again, I hope we're not spoiling things if you haven't read the first 3 books, but and if you have, even if this will spoil a little, but you know, John, and I want to be very clear that John suffers from depression early on, and Simon is probably his means of coping beyond medication with his depression, not always in a healthy way. And as John gets better, so to speak, as his depression lessens, as it fades, so does Simon. Yet, if anybody knows anything about an addictive personality or about somebody who suffers from depression, there's a love-hate with depression, and when it starts to go away, you start to realize you're shedding an old coat or a skin, or you're missing an old friend. If you suffer depression, and if you have, God bless you, and I hope you're working through it and you're getting help. Depression, it stalks you every day, and it becomes your shadow, and in a perverse way, it becomes your friend. And I don't make light of that in these books at all. And if it ever seems that way, I don't mean that. And so as John gets better, as life becomes better, as things come to distract him in a good way, Simon gets pushed in the corner. And Simon doesn't like that, and he pushes back, and that's what you'll see in the series.
Mm-hmm. To a degree, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but Simon has a talent for keeping John honest as well. I mean,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, I mean, he is kind of that voice in the corner, that reminder that things might at any moment go horribly, horribly wrong, and that, but in a way, not only does it keep him honest, but it also keeps him grateful that things do go well, that, okay, fine, yeah, I am intimately very aware that at any moment this could all go south, and I am grateful that today is one of the good days.
Right. Yeah, he's a barometer in a lot of ways, and he does keep him honest. I love, Michelle, that's really great. I really appreciate the way you say that, because he does. And, John Pilate, early on, he has nothing to lose, therefore no accountability. But as the series progresses and he gets Kate, and there's children involved, and there's a job, and there's real life, accountability starts weighing on him pretty heavily. And in Pilate's Blood, you're going to see Pilate dealing with growing up and accountability in a different way.
Good hint. Since we've kind of danced around it, I do want to point out what is the relationship, even though Kate is not aware of Simon, obviously Simon is aware. How much of John's relationship with Kate influences John's relationship with Simon?
Well, Simon didn't like her.
Well, I can understand that. I mean, in a lot of ways, Kate replaces John's need for Simon.
Well, there are scenes in not so much Key, but in Ghost, where Kate actually says, "Were you talking to me, or were you talking to someone?" Because Pilate audibly talks back to Simon, and Kate's like, "What are you talking?" And Simon's trying very hard to intrude on the relationship and disrupt it. So you're going to see some of that. I mean, it's funny because there's some people who really genuinely, and told me they genuinely enjoy the stories, but they don't like the Simon thing at all, and they wish it would just go away. Well, my answer to that is, yeah, and people with depression wish their depression would go away, but it isn't going to happen. It may be suppressed, it may get better, they may learn to deal with it, but most people with depression, or a lot of people with depression, deal with it for a long time. And a lot of people, if they don't have depression, I will tell you one thing that will dog most people till the end of their days is self-doubt. We all have it. Now, there's plenty of people who tell you, I don't have any self-doubt, I know what I'm doing, I'm perfectly fine. Well, BS. Everybody has self-doubt. Everybody has a Simon in one way or another. And yeah, so there's Simon insinuating himself into the marriage of John and Kate right there. And some may say, well, if you really want to psychoanalyze John, he keeps Simon alive just so he has an excuse.
Could be.
Could be. Could be.
Could
Anyway,
be.
yeah. So there's Simon for you. There's Kate
There's
for you.
Simon. There's Kate. Then there's all these other interesting characters that we've bumped into along the way, and I have to bring up an ally of John's,
Yeah.
Taters.
Taters Mally.
Because I almost alluded to one of Tater's favorite lines in this could be your last best day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, explain a little bit about who Taters is and why Taters has this philosophy of life that he does.
Taters, John met Taters in Key West. He's a charter boat captain, fishing boat, or just go out sightseeing or whatever. And he's a little older than John, about 10 years older, but he has a young wife, like 15 years younger than him, very attractive but very taciturn wife, Jordan. So Taters does 99% of the talking in their relationship, at least in front of John, in front of the readers. He's a former accountant who had a big CPA practice, and he was married before, and he has kids and all this, and his wife died. His wife of 25 plus years died. And at that point, Taters sold his business, and he bought a fishing boat and moved to Key West and started over. And Taters very starkly remembers, and he tells John of this, the day before his wife was diagnosed with terminal cancer was the last best day of his life. It was definitely the last best day of her life. And he lives his life with that philosophy that today could be the last day before tomorrow when you're going to get the terminal news, or the really bad news, or the really awful thing could happen. Not to say that life is full of awful things, but let's be realistic. Life, the one constant in life is that things end. And Taters is acutely aware of that, more so than many, and more so than John, because he's older than John, and John, who has suffered some loss, he's been through a divorce and he's seen some death, but Taters has felt this love of his life slip through his fingers, and there was nothing he can do about it. Taters is kind of a beach bum philosopher, but he's he comes off a little kind of hokey with a name like Taters, and nickname. It's his nickname, of course. His real name's Vernon, but I mean, he's just a guy who's like, here's what I give a damn about, and here's what I don't give a damn about. And if you're in between here, that's fine. But if you're over here and what I do give a damn about, I'm as loyal as it's ever gonna get. You're never gonna have a better friend. Don't give a damn. Well, good luck. And he's on a friend I have like that. I have a friend who he doesn't ask questions. If I'm in trouble, if I need something, he's there. And he's not perfect, and he's certainly not he certainly doesn't have the answer to everything. But boy, you are blessed in this life if you have a friend who loves you no matter what. You really are, and that's him. And I have another friend who Taters is also based on, who's just like, I've got two friends. He maybe favors one of my friends more than the other, but there's a lot of both of these guys wrapped up in this fella. And I got to be honest with you, I absolutely love writing Taters dialogue. He's just fun. The only other character, and I'm going to step out if you don't mind with this part of the conversation. There's the only other character I enjoy writing scenes with I love Taters and Pilate scenes. I enjoy Taters or Simon and John scenes much because they hit close to home in a lot of ways. The only other character I enjoy writing scenes with more than Taters and John is John and Sheriff Scoville. And Sheriff Scoville was a big character in the first book, and then something happened, and he wasn't much in the second, and then he was in the third. I love, love, love writing Scoville's dialogue. That guy is so interesting to me.
This is perfect because the next to ask you was, Taters is one of those friends that absolutely, he's a friend to the end. He's a friend that John can count on. John doesn't really have a good track record with choosing friends.
No, his picker's broken.
some people that he
As
thought
my mom would say, your picker's broken, son, but not your pecker, your picker. Excuse me, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Michelle. She used to tell me that. I said, what? She said that the first time about girls and stuff. This was years ago. Son, your picker's broken. I'm like, no, no, picker. Anyway, go ahead.
and Scoville was one of those that I wanted to bring up because, like I said, John has a difficult time defining who's really good to have in his life and who's not good to have in his life. He doesn't really recognize whether that person is a good guy or a bad guy right away.
Yeah.
And Scoville's one of those that John had doubts about, that he does have doubts about him, but Scoville's life has taken some odd turns, and he's one of those that actually he's a good guy, but he made some bad choices that he's having to, make amends for. Mm-hmm. But, of the good guy, bad guy sort of thing, Scoville falls ultimately on the good guy side, in my mind anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're all heroes in our own story, but none of us are 100% white knights or white hats or what have you. I'll venture to say that we've all done things that are nefarious, whether intentionally or not. Scoville made a mistake, and his mistake was of loyalty, so it's pardonable to some degree. It was loyalty to someone close to him, but he went the wrong way. And I don't want to give too much away, because if you haven't read the stories, if you have read them, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I really want you to please read it, because you'll see that. But I think what I enjoy most about Scoville is just the way he talks to Pilate, and he's just a no BS kind of. He's kind of an aw shucks kind of I'm a country sheriff guy, but he's really brilliant in his own way. And Pilate at first makes the mistake of thinking he's way smarter than this guy, and in some ways he is, but in the ways that really matter when it gets down to survival, etc. Yeah, Scoville's got it all over John. So I really enjoy those scenes, and he's a character that I'd love to see again if things permit.
Right. One of the things I noticed is Scoville's one among Kate and Trevathan and a very small handful of people. Yeah. Scoville's one of the ones that actually sees John's potential. He's one of the few that identifies that John's capable of more than he's actually operating in at the moment.
That is such a great point. I think that the mistake a lot of people make for John when they first. Are we getting any feedback? Are you getting?
I'm
feedback?
Okay. No.
Okay, I'm getting a little. So sorry, folks. I'm hearing myself. Which now I feel bad for all you, because now I know what it sounds like.
No, our audio has been clear. You're fine.
Okay. Yeah, there were some people who really made the mistake of thinking when they first laid eyes on John that he's not that bright, or that he's easily fooled or whatever. And yeah, Scoville that John's not an idiot, but John is vulnerable. Like in Pilate's Cross, John is extremely vulnerable. And that is really what it gets down to in Pilate's Cross. And then Pilate's Key, things change a little bit, and in Pilate's Ghost, it's another situation altogether. But yeah, you're right. Scoville understands that this guy may be vulnerable, but he's far from an idiot.
Well, and Scoville is kind of our harbinger of things to come. He alludes to several things in Pilate's Ghost that set us on the path of Pilate's blood.
Yes, he does.
I don't feel bad about bringing this up. Do you want to kind of clue folks in on where I'm going with this?
You want me to go ahead and set up Pilate's blood a little bit? All right.
Yeah, go ahead and set up Pilate's blood. And I like it that we're kind of doing it through Scoville, so go for it.
If you've read these three, okay, great. If you haven't, you might want to close your ears. Spoiler alert. But,
spoiler alert.
I will set this up for you. At the end of Pilate's Ghost, things seemed to be done, and Pilate was set up financially, and he was set up to go a certain direction. Pilate's blood reminds you that man plans and God laughs. Uh, John had written a book that was about all of this stuff that had happened, and it was a bestseller. And then in Pilate's Blood, we find out that all the money from that book is not available to him. There is a scene in Pilate's Ghost where Pilate is meeting Scoville, and Scoville's no longer sheriff, and he asks Scoville, who's in charge here? What are we going to do to do all about this? And there's a scene where he says, we've got to talk to the new sheriff about this, and Scoville just looks at him and says, you're the sheriff now. And he just says it in a way that Pilate's like, whatever. Well, Pilate's blood opens up, and let's just say that in this little mutated Mayberry we call Cross Township, John Pilate is assuming a role of not law enforcement, but maybe he has joined the peace officer movement. Can I say, is that too much? I don't want to give too much away here, but I do want you to know that, yeah, Pilate's being knocked down a few notches.
I wasn't expecting that John was knocked down a few notches. I from the posts that you've put up on Facebook and other social media outlets that you have available to you, I was aware that through interesting circumstances, John becomes the sheriff. And holy cow, how is that possible? And having known that little tidbit when I read through the first 3 books again, I'm like, oh, that was kind of sneaky of you. I see what you're doing there.
Well, if you look at the progression there, you see that he becomes a de facto authority figure and a leader in that town. Now, I will say this: he's not exactly the sheriff. You're just going to have to read the book to find out what he is. But he does. I think the blurb for the book, so it's safe to say this, is that he is a job that has a title that is pretty well equitable to dog catcher, but not with half the authority or something. So, and I want to say this too, Michelle. Pilate, if we're getting into Pilate's Blood a little bit here, just to say this book is an homage to 2 things. Now, people who know me or know of me know that my grandfather, who Dean Trevathan is somewhat based on, the late character Dean Trevathan, Pilate's ally, my grandfather was a writer and a historian. He wrote westerns. Here's one here. This is Tracking the Bargain Gold, one of his top sellers. There's a bit of an homage to him in Pilate's Blood, and there's also an homage to one of my all-time favorite films, and I'm not going to say which one. I was going to leave it at that. But don't worry, it's not all cowboy stuff here. It's John Pilate, but there's an homage here.
Excellent. I have to admit, like I said, reading back through, and for Pilate's Cross, I think this is the 3rd, maybe 4th time I've read Pilate's Cross. The other books I just haven't had in my collection as long as I've had that one. But each time I read through these, I spot little things. I don't know how much of it was intentional that you went back and picked up threads, or whether that's just kind of how it all morphed. But I mean, I got the sense that Scoville had been setting him up from the get-go. From the first time he goes, come here, come look at this. I'm like, what is Scoville up to? And I mean, obviously, that first scene, we understand that it's due to the fact that Lenny just can't walk into that situation. The actual sheriff's deputy
in the crypt,
can't walk into that situation. And he needs another pair of eyes on this. If it's not going to be Lenny, John happens to be handy. But at the same time, that begins John's education in a couple of things.
Yeah, and maybe it was subconscious. Maybe I thought all along there was going to be a series. I don't know. I do know that once I knew that once Pilot's Cross ended and Pilot's Key happened, and he was going to be taken completely out of Cross Township and be in Key West and all this. But he returns to Cross in Pilot's Ghost. I just saw that the opportunity was there, and then I went back and reread the other two, and I thought, well, maybe this is where my subconscious was going the whole way. I would be a smart aleck if I said to you all, "Oh, I had this plan from the beginning." I'm like, no, I didn't. But I don't say smart enough, but I was at least observant enough to go, okay, these are some threads that I did leave. Let's pick them up and let's string them together, and that's where we are.
Well, and that's why we say hindsight's 20/20. It's really easy to go back and go, oh, I left that little, trail of breadcrumbs, and oh, look, there's another little trail that I might be able to play with a little bit more. Absolutely. I mean, we have all this source material. As writers, we have all of this research and character studies, and as much time as we've spent in the heads of these characters, yeah, sure, there's always something we can go back and pick up that we kind of left behind somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I mean, the intentional stuff is the pop culture references. You will never read a Pilot book that does not have a Colin Hay song mentioned in it, or Colin Hay reference. I love Colin Hay, Men at Work. But there are lines. If you read Pilot's Key and you don't catch a line from a very famous shark movie in there, then you don't watch many movies. I mean, I think the secret to connecting with readers is to find that common ground. And if John Pilate is to be believable, then he is going to be quoting the same movie lines that I would as a middle-aged guy, you know. He's a little younger than me, but not much. So he's quoting some of the same pop culture. There's almost always a Star Trek joke in there. There's almost always a couple of different movie jokes in there. And I think my readers appreciate it. Someday, if I get really bored, I'm going to go through my books and I'm going to footnote all the different pop culture references that I either by intent or just somehow subconsciously got inserted in the books.
That would be the John Pilate pop culture treasure hunt.
Well, yeah, and it's just going to get more and more voluminous as we continue.
Indeed. Since John has this issue with identifying who's the bad, the good guy, who have been some of your favorite villains to write?
You know, I was most intrigued with Derek Kroll, our villainous librarian. And it's so funny because, you know, I speak in libraries fairly often. These books are carried in a few public library systems, and I've gone to speak, and the librarians are always so tickled that a librarian was a bad guy, you know. And I think every one of us starts out thinking that librarians are very smart, but they're also villains because they're always saying, shh. So I thought I'm going to write in Pilot's Cross a librarian who doesn't say shh at all. He just talks way too damn much. And Derek Kroll is kind of a slime ball. I remember my sister, she was just like, ugh, that guy is so creepy. And then I had another friend who read it, and she was just like, I want to close the book whenever Derek Kroll comes in because he's so nasty. Because Kroll's the type of guy who's always making comments about the students' bodies and about what he, you know. Yeah, I like Kroll because, frankly, I've known lots of people like him. They may not have been murderous or villainous, but they certainly had these personality quirks that were fun to write. So Derek Kroll's one. Ollie Olafson, he's all right. I got to admit, he's a little bit out of central cast. Jack Lindstrom. Wow. If you've read the books, you know that Jack Lindstrom is a character that is very complex and has his roots in somebody real. And I mean, I knew a guy who frankly was, and I'll say it here, I think he was a sociopath. And he was in a position of authority just like Jack Lindstrom, and he did some criminal things, and it inspired a lot of the Jack Lindstrom character. So he was interesting to write in a way, in the sense that I got to explore sociopathy, and how sociopaths navigate and how they get what they want and survive and thrive. So Lindstrom's interesting to me. But now Hilmer Thurman, our new crime lord in the Cross area in the county. He's interesting to me because he's not like Ollie. Ollie was like a hammer, and to Ollie, as a hammer, everything was a nail. Whereas Hilmer Thurman is much more of a chess player. He's come in from Minnesota, and he's a distant relation of the Olafsons, and he's coming in and he's going to go, I'm not going to be a blunt instrument. I'm going to find a way to extract as much money out of this county as I can without getting on the radar, without being in the face of law enforcement. And he does a pretty good job of it. And if you read Pilate's Blood, you might get to know Hilmer Thurman just a little bit better.
The one thing I noticed about Hilmer when he's introduced in Pilate's Ghost, because your villains have an interesting habit of dying off.
Yeah, it's stupid of me.
Of course, I mean, they do have the ability to come back from the dead, but in Hilmer's case, I found him interesting in that we don't see too much of, we just kind of get a hint of who this guy could be. Mm-hmm. But I got the sense that he was a pragmatist above all else. Mm-hmm. That, he's the kind of guy that will make the most of the situation presented to him. He's an opportunist, but a very savvy opportunist.
He's not about to bet it all on one move. He's just not. He's not like that. Ollie Olafson, very emotional, and you challenge his authority and he gets pissed off. Hilmer Thurman just sits back and goes, "Okay, that's how you want to play it. All right." And then he plans his next 10 chess moves. So he's around in Pilate's Ghost, and no secret, he's around in Pilate's Blood. The question is, does he survive Pilate's Blood, or does he end up on the pile of bodies that where everybody else who's crossed John Pilate has ended up? That's the question. And also a question might be asked is, does Taters show up in Pilate's Blood, or is he gone? Because you may recall that Taters, who kind of became a sidekick in Pilate's Key, made a cameo in Pilate's Ghost. So the question is, does he show up in Pilate's Blood at all, or is he just another cameo? I've had a lot of people say, get rid of Kate, bring in Taters. So that's something that I hope people will buy the book and find out.
I hope so too. This kind of takes me off on a little bit of a tangent. I did want to turn this conversation just a little bit, because obviously we're talking a lot about the characters, who they are, what makes them tick, that kind of thing. But I want to get a little bit more into the relationships that form between writers, characters, readers, characters, writers, and readers. There's a dynamic that happens even between you and I when I'm sitting there reading a book. You have no idea when I've picked up the book, what book I'm reading, but there's an element of interaction between the two of us when I do pick up that book to read. And those, as you mentioned early on, I'm a writer myself.
Yes.
And I usually, when I'm developing a story, I spend a lot of time getting into the mindset of my cast of characters. Character studies are something that are really important to me. And due to that, I tend to form a type of relationship with those characters the more I understand what makes them tick, what motivates them to do what they do, the more I relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of clue us in on what is the nature of the relationship between you and the characters of the John Pilate Mystery series?
I just know that when I don't spend time with them, and when I say spend time with them, I don't mean reading the old stuff. I mean if I don't spend time writing about them, I miss them. And I know that sounds so goofy, but you know, I released Pilot's Key in February 2012, and then we released Pilot's Ghost in Halloween of 2012. That's 2 in 1 year. Now, I didn't write them both in 1 year, but, you know. And then I spent, here we are, it's going to be Halloween basically before 2 years later, before the next book comes out. And what happened is real simple. Life, like John Lennon said, what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. And I kind of made a trilogy, and I kind of dared the readers a little bit. I said, well, I think we're done here unless there's a big demand. I think, you know, we had a really successful Kickstarter campaign to fund the paperback, and everybody just, you know, I got great critical reviews for Ghost and for Key, and all the things were going well, and I thought, well, I'm going to pull a Conan Doyle here and kind of just end it, you know, like he ended Sherlock Holmes at the height of his powers. Just see what the silence was deafening. I mean, I had more than a few people. I even had people call me at home and say, "Are you really done? Are you gonna come on?" And I've had people socially say it, but there was no, I don't know what I was expecting, but there was no massive movement to, you know, Alex, write another Pilot story. You know, there were individuals who, God bless them, wanted me to do it, but they also were plenty who said, well, I can make peace with it if you're done with it. Well, I couldn't. I miss John. I miss Taters. I even miss Simon a little bit. Kate, Kara, Grief. I still miss Trevathan to this day. So the relationship I have with them is that these are all my friends. I wasn't what you'd call a lonely kid or anything like that, but I remember something that my mom wrote in my baby book. She had a little baby book, you know, moms write about their kids. I think they do it with the first couple of kids, and after that they're like, I'm not going to write about it anymore. But I remember one of the last things she wrote about me when I was about 2 years old, she wrote, is he's kind of a loner. And I think that's just how I am in a way. I'm off on my own. I have very close relationships with people, but I need a lot of alone time. But in that alone time, I like to populate it with these friends I created. Some people ask me, there's certain TV shows I've seen over and over, episodes over and over. Some people it's Gunsmoke or Doctor Who or Star Trek or whatever, or Frasier, you know. And I may have named a couple of mine there. But you watch them because they're like your old friends. They're comfort food to your mind. So my relationship with these characters is just that. They help me work out what's going on inside me. John does represent a lot of frustration I have in my life about goals I had that didn't quite make it, or about broken relationships, or about as he gets older, not that I'm ancient by any means, but there is this very real understanding that you're not young anymore. You're not going to live forever. Not every woman you see is going to think you're attractive, or should they. And it's all these things that I think a lot of middle-aged men go through, that I know I'm going through and have gone through. And so that's a long answer to your question, but that's my relationship with people. And I think I need to work a little bit more on my relationship with the female characters. I need to write them better. There is a female character that I write, Monique Fraley, who's kind of a cameo, small character, small part. She's his publicist when he's got a book and all this. And she's a young woman with a little pixie haircut, and she's really attractive, and she lives in New York City, and he's on a book tour, and he swaggers off the plane and thinks he's all that. She's like, him, no, you're a narcissist and you're not that attractive and you need to get over yourself.
She does indeed.
And you know what? At least
to the point
right?
of
And at least I'm honest about it.
I'm glad you have a bestseller, but no, that's not going to cut it either.
Yeah, and it's not as if he's even looking to sleep with her or anything, but he just wants kind of that reflected glory, and she's just like, look elsewhere, old man. Gross. And I get that. I get that. And it's hard. It's hard. And it's not that I was ever George Clooney. Don't get me wrong. It's just that youth is a suit of armor. And I tell this to young people. Youth is a suit of armor that you don't know you're wearing until pieces of it start to fall off. And John's learning that.
John's learning that, but in John's defense, he is kind of growing on Monique. I mean, she's like, you know what? I've been around you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're a little cute. You're not cute enough, but yeah, you're a little cute.
Yeah, and you may see more of that in Pilate's Blood. I'll just say that. So Monique Fraley does return. I'll let the cat out of that. Monique Fraley returns on the other end of the phone in Pilate's Blood. In a world where publicists are not attracted to John Pilate.
Well, it's interesting how many of your female characters wind up living through the phone, by the way.
What does that say about me, huh? Let's just not even go there. They phone it in, don't they?
We might have to work on that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you hope would be the relationship that develops between the readers and these characters?
I just hope they would view them the way I do, like they're friends, like they're old friends, and you can put them on like a comfortable set of flannel pajamas, and get in bed on a fall or a winter night, or during the summer if you can just put your feet in the sand on the beach and you're just like vacation. Oh, it's John and Simon and taters with a Modelo, and it's oh my God, that's what I want. Gosh, I do not want these books to stink under the weight of some kind of perceived, pretension. I just want these characters to be your friends. I've had readers tell me that I identify with X, Y, or Z character, and as long as that happens, then I know we're in good territory. It's funny because
that's what I was just.
Well, it's funny, Michelle.
That's what I was just about to point out was the fact that these people are actually relatable, identifiable. That I can see bits of myself and relate to that in those characters.
Well, there's a character that's somewhat based on you in there somewhere. Don't say it. Don't. But everybody who I know, there is a little bit of you in this book. So if you want to share the royalties. It's not what you think.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up. If you wanted to mention any of that, then I'll let you mention it. But otherwise, you're just going to have to figure out who might be based on me.
Yeah. There's actually a couple that it could be you, Michelle. There's one that you don't even ever bring up to me, which is so funny because I thought of you when I wrote her too. So I'll just leave it at that.
See, you're not the only one still going on treasure hunts in the John Pilate Mysteries. I know of two, and if there are others, then my God, that just means that I might be schizophrenic.
Well, you write what you know in the sense that if you're a writer and you're struggling to create good characters, then that means you're not paying enough attention to the people you hang around, because everybody has quirks and everybody saying parts about them and sayings that they don't even know they say that you can incorporate, and it's anyway.
Oh, no. I am painfully aware that anything that I might say to you, whether publicly or privately, it could come back to haunt me.
It could, and it's like Stephen King said. If you want to be a writer, you should kind of divest yourself of any notion of being a member of polite society because you're going to basically be observing people in such a ways that you're going to borrow pieces of them for your books, and that's just life. If you know a writer, that's what they're doing.
Trust me, guys, if you have found pieces of yourselves in other people's work, take it as a compliment. You're pretty cool if you wound up in the crazy world in our heads.
Yeah, absolutely. Even my own wife, I don't think she even recognizes the bits and pieces that are in there that are her. If she does, she's really coy about it. It's really funny. But anyway.
Anyway, one of the other things I wanted to bring up, because when I started rereading these books, one of the things that kind of struck me was the distant yet intimate relationship that a reader has with an author, whether intentionally or not, especially with works of fiction. Mm-hmm. We tend to pick those up in order to escape, in order to take a break from our day-to-day lives. And usually we pick them up in a place that's comfortable, that, either we're sitting with our toes in the sand on the beach, or we're hanging out in a hammock, or, we've curled up in our bed on a cold winter's night, or, like some of us, we've taken them to our bubble baths.
Ooh. Send pictures to... No, I'm just
not on your life. The point being, this is our escape, this is our relaxation, and we tend to take our books into the most intimate places of our lives.
Yeah.
And by default, we invite that writer into the most intimate places of our lives to give us a break from whatever's going on in our life that maybe we need to have a breather for a moment, which creates a very interesting dynamic between what, as writers, we sit down to create and the catharsis that we get from creating it, and then having it shared in a very intimate, very one-on-one. Yes, we could get together and sit and talk about these books as a group and have a group experience around this content. But reading is a very one-on-one conversation that we have with that writer.
Yeah.
And that dynamic fascinates me. Is that something that you've been aware of as you write, or is this something that just turns in my crazy brain?
I never really think when I write something, I don't think about that. Maybe it's good that I don't, because if I think about, I do know that most of my readers are women these days. So if I'm thinking about all of you guys in your bubble bath, I'll never get anything done.
Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have painted that picture.
But your point is so well made. I am so flattered to think that I've been that book that had to go with you on vacation, or that you shut the door from the kids and you get into a hot bath and you're reading. It's like if any of my books have ever been part of that thing you look forward to that is just for you, whether it be a hot bath or your feet and the toes on the sand, or an escape from the obnoxious guy on the plane next to you, or whatever. All I can say about that, it's just, I am so immensely flattered, and I'll do my best to always entertain you, and make sure that you don't regret it. Gosh, if I ever write something that is disappointing in a major way, I'm gonna feel really bad about that, because I work very hard on these books, and there's not a one of them. Now, I mean, I have my problems with each of them, but there's not a one of them that I'm embarrassed about or think, oh gosh, I wish that was unpublishable at all. There's a lot of people out there, especially a lot of indie writers, who crank out, it seems like, a new book every month, and a lot of them, frankly, are just crap. And the thing I try to do is, I spend a lot of time on my books. I write several drafts. I have a professional editor, professional book cover artist. I mean, I treat this very seriously, and I am very honored when I hear that people are. I mean, because people don't even read anymore, just the way they used to. There's only this small fraction of people who read, and out of that small fraction, the people who read mystery thrillers, and the small fraction of that fraction who read mystery thrillers by people they've not really heard of. I mean, I'm not James Patterson. I'm not Harlan Coben. I'm not all these people. So it's an immensely flattering thing.
Well, and I want to point out for those of you that are avid readers, but maybe you've never sat down and tried to write something, whether it's a long form piece, a short form piece. Part of the reason why Alex and I wanted to do this interview is because I'm interviewing him as a fellow writer. I've been through this process myself. Mm-hmm. And I can say that there's definitely a catharsis for us as writers. We pour a lot of ourselves. I mean, yes, there are bits and pieces of us strewn all over our works that, you know, parts of those characters are actually parts of us. You know, it's tantamount almost to, you know, bringing a child into the world. The passion, the creativity, just the drive to create one of these pieces, and to know that it's appreciated in that quiet, intimate place is a reward in and of itself.
Yeah.
But, you know, you are getting pieces of us when you read these books.
Yeah. Such as they are. And I'll tell you, writing these have made me a more generous critic. I, in my youth, was very very hard on movies and books and things like that. No, I still am. I still think Hollywood dishes out about 90% of their stuff is crap. I think it's just retread stuff. But I'm less likely to read another author and be really hard on them, because unless I just feel like it was something that was clearly just kind of pushed out in a couple of weeks or something and no care was put into it. I believe if it's artisanal and people really care about what they're doing, it shows. But I'm much more understanding. I got into a little Facebook back and forth with an old buddy of mine last night about Twin Peaks is coming back, and I always thought Twin Peaks was just weird for weird's sake. I never cared for it. I'm sorry. I don't get me wrong. There's some parts of it I like, but in general, I just don't care for it. And I said it's weird for weird's sake, and my friend just got into it with me and back and forthing, and then he said, "Gosh, can we at least agree on The Walking Dead?" And then I had to go, "Well, I think that stinks now. The writing's terrible now," and then I had to stop and think. Well, who are you? Not like who are you because you're not famous and rich as a writer, but who are you as a writer to come down hard on other writers like that? So it's kind of a hard thing to do. I want to fight for the writers who put some care into what they do, but because the ones who don't make it harder on the rest of us. But by the same token, I also want to be respectful of what you're talking about, where people are, you know, they're opening a vein and putting it out there, and sharing parts of themselves, and being very like John Pilate, very vulnerable.
Indeed, and I have to point out, I just looked over at my screen. Jason McIntyre.
Oh my gosh, one of the most brilliant writers out there.
And he's had quite a bit to say as we were talking.
Jason McIntyre. Now, if he's saying mean things, I'm going to take all this back. If you like thrillers, if you like suspense, he's like, I'm not going to compare him to another writer because you can't. Jason McIntyre, my friend in Canada, please. What does Jason say?
Jason's been having some fun. He's
oh boy, here we go.
Is there a little of everyone in here? Yes, of course there is. And then, of course, he had to chime in with you on the bubble bath pictures. No, ain't gonna happen. Sorry. and he asks, he's like, who's cranking out crap? And I either.
I'm sorry, you froze out for a second. What was the question?
He was winking and laughing. Who's cranking out crap? And then he also just now commented that he never got into Twin Peaks either.
There you go. And listen, Jason C. McIntyre, you got to read this guy, folks. He and I don't know if she's on tonight, but Eden Bailey, who just wrote Stranger at Sunset, her first mystery novel. It is tremendous. It cracked the Amazon Top 100. You've got to read these folks, and you've got to, of course, read Michelle's Revenge of the Siren Song. There are so many good independent authors out there, and Jason, dude, we're supposed to have a Skype drinking session soon. Now you're buying.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up Jason and some of the other authors that you enjoy, because one of the things we did as part of the launch for this is enough with the bubble bath comments, Jason.
Oh, see, he can't help himself. He's a repressed Canadian.
I have several Canadian friends. Believe me, I know what you're going through with those winners.
Yeah, you do, don't you? Yeah.
But what I wanted to point out was, in the process of letting people know that there will be blood this month, that we set up a John Pilate Mysteries book club community on Google+.
Yeah.
And I have already set up discussion threads for the 3 books in existence. I've posed some questions, some other things. I'll look at what you have to say in just a second, Jason. I've already posted some discussion points. Please, as you pick up these books and you want to commiserate, share the experience, please go over and visit the John Pilate Mysteries book club on Google+.
Please.
One of the things I recommended that we do once we've read Pilate's Blood is in the new year, come January, when we've all had time enough to read the new book, is pick up some things that you in particular enjoyed reading, maybe influenced your writing. I know we've talked about Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett and several of the mystery authors that you enjoy. Yep. I
Nelson
would
DeMille.
love to add you, Jason McIntyre, to that list.
Oh, he's so good.
Books that this club should read.
Yes. That would be so great. Michelle, thank you for doing that. I hope everybody will join that. Google Plus is a little bit of an undiscovered country for people, and I know it's a little, as you saw tonight, we had some people have trouble logging onto this call, and I'm so sorry for people who missed the Hangout, but if you're watching the replay, I hope this has been interesting for you, and I'm sorry about the problems, but Google Plus is such a great place to go. It's basically Google's Facebook, and let me tell you, it's kind of the Wild West. There's not a lot there's not a lot of people on it compared to other platforms, but there's plenty of space to discuss and do these kind of hangouts. And I would be so honored if you would join our book club. And here's the thing: sometimes I'm just going to jump on there and ask a question and say, "Okay, I'm stuck here. What would John do this or would John do that?" And if you're there and you're interested, you can answer. And I that's what I'd like to do, Michelle, going forward with the book club. Just pop in every now and then and ask questions, or just say hey.
I would love it if you did. How often do you, as a reader, get a chance to influence the progression of a series, a character that you love? And here we've kind of opened the door and made it possible for Alex to pop in at will and say, hey, I'm kind of hung up on something. What do you think John should do next?
Yeah. I did have some block with Pilate's Blood. I had a couple of points where I was stuck. And actually, I've got to give a shout out to 2 people. My good friend Mike and Eden Bailey again, the writer. Both of them were there at 2 crucial points where I thought, I can't finish this book, I have no talent, I have no ability, I should stop, blah, blah, blah. And they helped me get the book done. And then, of course, Michelle, there was you when I said, hey, got a new book coming out. And you're like all over it. I mean, and I would be remiss if I mean, you're so great. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank my wife Stephanie and my daughter Caroline, who, I mean, I literally would be up here in my room where I write, and I can hear my daughter downstairs saying to her mother, when's Daddy going to be done, on a Saturday? And I'm giving up. People don't understand that, when you want to do something with your life, when you want to do something different, whether it be write a book or whether it be write music or whether it be lose 20 pounds, you have to trade something to do this. Usually it's time. And I had to give up, I haven't added it all up, but Jason and Eden and Michelle as writers, we're giving up sometimes hundreds of hours away from the people you love and from activities and from TV and from other books and working out to sit at this little room or go to the coffee shop or wherever it is you work and clack, 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 clack on your little computer and make your little, spin your little yarns. And it's a trade-off. And my wife and daughter have been extraordinarily indulgent of that. And I felt guilty as I get older because my kids are getting older, and there's going to be a time when she's a teenager when she's going to be like, please go write as many books as you want. But right now, she misses her daddy when he's writing. So anyway, I just wanted to say that.
I can attest to the fact that, yes, they'll go, oh, Mom, oh, Dad, that's cool. Go write some more. We can't wait to see what you create next. I'm to that point in my relationship with my kids because I do have teenagers.
Right. Well, you're a writer and your husband's a composer, right?
Right.
There you go. So, you know.
We are coming to the end of this. We kind of went a little long. We didn't intend to quite go this late, but we wanted to make sure that on the front end that people had a chance to join in and could be a part of this conversation. So we kind of started a little bit later than we intended to, but is there anything else you want to add as we kind of wrap this up?
There's a couple of announcements, especially for those of you patient enough to stick around. I promised a big announcement. The first big announcement is if you if you want Pilate's Blood, you can order it now. You can pre-order it now, and you will save $1 off the list price of everybody who waits to buy it after October 30th. You can go to Amazon.com and you can buy Pilate's Blood with a pre-order. Now, you will not get it today, but you will lock in that $2.99 price, and then as soon as the book is released, which we're shooting for October 30th, you will get that book instantly delivered to either your email or your iPad or your Kindle or whatever device you use. I want to caution you and just tell you, if you buy the pre-order, it will tell you you're going to get the book in November, around the 9th. That's a little issue I'm working out with pre-order system with Amazon. I intend to fix that where you should get the book by the end of October. But at any rate, no matter when you get the book, if you pre-order the book and tell other people to do this, please, you'll save $1 because it's only $2.99. And I sit there and think, gosh, all these hours I put in here, but it's $2.99. If you get the pre-order, and I got to tell you something, Amazon weights pre-order sales way more than they do post-order sales, like when the book's live. So as many pre-orders as we can get, we'll build up more buzz and get people talking about it. That'd be great. Can you throw to the picture, or have you already done that?
I haven't thrown to the picture. I want to let people know before I do that we have links all over the place, and we're going to be adding more. If you're watching in our Google Hangout, in the Showcase app, we have a direct link to Pilate's Blood. You can go right to it, order it right now, right here from the Hangout. We will also be including the link in the discussion thread on our event.
Yep.
We'll post it up on Facebook, on G+, in the book club, every place that we can find it. We will be sharing this link. We will be sharing this link for the next several weeks before the book is actually released.
If you can't find the link, just go to Amazon and search Pilate's Blood. You'll find it too. And it's only on Amazon. I got to say this. We're going to only do Amazon, and it's only an ebook for now. Now, stay tuned for more news about paperbacks and other things. But right now, by way of explanation, I can hear some people groaning already, saying, oh, but I get you on Barnes & Noble. Well, about 85% of my sales are on Amazon, and Amazon is the only one offering this kind of pre-order sale that I felt would be the most effective. So that's what we're doing to get the book launched correctly. So that's what we're doing, but stay tuned for news about that. I've got one more big announcement, but I thought you might want to show the page real quick if you can. If you can, that's no big deal.
I can. It just takes a couple of clicks.
It's the magic of the internet.
There you go. There it is on Amazon, Pilate's Blood. You
Can you
can
see it all?
click those buttons and pre-order right now.
Yeah. And there it is. What about that cover by Scarlett Rugers? I'm so thrilled about this cover. It's a new direction for the covers. Our previous cover artist was brilliant. He did a great job, but he's moved on to other things, and um, I wanted to kind of get a more commercial look, I think, and I think you can tell. I've had some people who've seen that's kind of shades of James Patterson, and you know what? James Patterson sells a lot of books, so I'm pretty happy with that comparison. Looky there, there's Cross Township there, and if you look real carefully, you can see taters. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You can't see taters on there. But it is Pilate's blood, thicker than water, twice as deadly. Shout out goes out to Noah Smith, good friend of mine, who helped me with that tagline. And that's not the only announcement, though. I do have one more announcement tonight before we go, unless you want me to go and not announce it, Michelle.
Announce it?
Yeah, do you want me to? All right, I've got one more announcement. Is there anything else from the Peanut Gallery? Is Jason still sending you questions about Babel Bath? And
Hold on, because I have to go back to that screen.
let's just double check while we got it, because I know we're going long, but let's.
He's very thrilled with Scarlett's cover art. He loves it. So yeah, thumbs up there.
Well, he actually recommended Scarlett to me, so thank you, Jason. And I actually owe you a Lebex or a Labatt's or a Moosehead or whatever you guys drink up there. All right, one more announcement to everybody who is into this. So you can pre-order Pilate's Blood now, and I hope you please will pre-order it now. You're saving $1, and you're helping me push this book out there. One of the things. The first question I always get after I release a book, this is my 4th book that I've released, is when are you going to do the next one? And usually it's because they liked the one before that. Now, I'm just going to hope you like this one, and I'm going to go ahead and preempt you asking me. You're going to hear it here first. Nobody else has heard this. The next book, there will be another book after Pilate's Blood, but it'll be a little different. The book is going to be a special project of mine, and it's going to be a book of short stories that take place in the world of John Pilate. And there should be 7 of them, and they will be told from the point of view of different characters. So you may have a story that is told from, wait for it, Kate, a story told from the point of view of Taters, a story told from the point of view of other characters, and this book will be called Pilate 7. I don't know if that's exciting to you or not, but I'm excited.
I was like, yay!
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of these, it's so funny, Michelle, because this whole night you've been talking about these other characters that you like and all this, and about how some of them could use some more development. Well, this book of short stories will have at least 7 short stories of 7 different characters, and the story will be from the point of view of those characters. And yes, I'll guarantee there will be a story told from Kate. So there may be some stories that John Pilate is tangential and maybe makes a cameo. There may be some stories where he's intimately in the story, or maybe he's not in there at all. I mean, I was thinking we might just do one where Taters is out on the Gulf fishing all day. Nah, that'd be kind of boring, but anyway. So those are the big announcements, and I guess we've really tried everybody's patience tonight with all this, but I am tremendously flattered and honored to people have given up a little part of their time to listen in, and Michelle, thank you. I really appreciate it.
It is absolutely my pleasure, and through the course of doing the things that I do, I have to ask if you guys have read any of the books, or if you plan to read any of the rest of the books, please take a moment over on Amazon.com and leave a review.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not asking you to do anything that I haven't done myself. I have reviewed all 3 of the existing books. There will be a review from me once I read Pilate's Blood, once it's out. So, again, I'm not asking you to do anything that I haven't done myself. Take a moment, even if it's just a couple of lines. Give us a little feedback. Writers like Alex work really hard, spend hours poring over these, and Since he's giving them to you for 99 cents, the least you could do is leave a review, right?
It takes just a minute or two, and you know what? I'm not asking for a 5-star review. In fact, I kind of try to dissuade people from doing that. I mean, if you really hate it, don't bother making a review. But I'm not offended when a friend or somebody I know says that's a good 3-star book or 4-star book. I don't have to have it 5 stars. Oh my gosh, it's better than Cats. You don't have to do that. But there's a certain algorithm on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all these other places where if the book isn't reviewed but a few times, if it's not reviewed at least 20, 25 times, it's very hard for it to kind of bubble up to the top and get more attention. So even if you just log in and put a few stars on there and say, I really like this part and that part, and I hope he writes another one, or it was okay, not a bad read, you know. It's no Twilight, but okay. I don't care. It'd just be great to have a review. And if you're on Goodreads, I'm on Goodreads. Please follow there. And, you know, I'm going to quit shilling now. But thank you for bringing that up, Michelle, because reviews are actually just as important as buying the book. Yeah. And by the way, don't be afraid to ask your local library to carry the series. It's carried in at least 3 library systems as we speak, and all librarians are waiting for people to request it. And certainly I don't pay it every time somebody checks the book out, but they do buy a copy for the library, and that certainly helps me too. So I'll make a deal with you. If we can sell a reasonable number of ebooks, we'll find a way to get a paperback out by Christmas. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. And who knows? Somebody might even decide to turn the rest of these into audiobooks.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we do have an audiobook of Pilate's Cross. Thank you. Thank you so much. John Edmondson, who recorded the brilliant job. We're talking about the rest of the series. I do have kind of this idea that I'd like to record one of them myself, and that's really what's hanging us up right now. Besides that, and John's very busy. He's recorded like 20 other books, and he's very in demand. But we're going to figure something out, and we'll keep you informed. Just go to the discussion page, the book club that Michelle set up, and you'll find out. Or go to facebook.com/pilotescross or pilotescross.com. And that's all the shilling I'm going to do. I'll be quiet now. I'll stop.
That's quite all right, guys. We're going to make sure that you can find all the links to all this good stuff, that you can stay in contact with Alex through his many writing adventures. But for now, I think that's good enough, don't you?
I do too. I got to go put a kid to bed.
And with that, I bid you adieu. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you.